It's a good way to do it.
Did I call myself before I left home?
What's that?
Did I call myself before I left
Yeah, she should have put that in the email.
home?
Yeah, that's been after the. I mean,
And we
that's-
haven't done it in one of our meetings.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah, the planning commission hasn't met
We
since
had-
we've been doing it.
Oh, really?
Now you can't get away with anything.
No, you're mic'd and this is probably one of the nicest setups that I've seen.
Yeah.
Hereford has a little laptop and a teeny tiny camera that only gets maybe 2 out of 3 of the board members.
It's kind of funny. We skipped a couple generations of technology, right? We went from a cassette recorder
Yeah.
all the way to like.
That's true, yeah.
So it's just- you stop when the tape stops and then flip it.
Yeah.
Ben,
That was way back in 2022.
It's funny, somebody just asked me yesterday for cassette tape.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then we had stacks and stacks of them at Maiden Creek. We didn't know what to do with them. And then Dean said, well, destroy them. You're done with the minutes. So we had maybe 5 years worth. We put them in the parking lot and the guys drove over 'em.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good way to get off frustration too.
I guess if we only meet a couple times a year, everybody shows up for it.
I thought I got replaced.
You can, Diane.
Pretty good.
You're at Hereford too?
Part-time, because they didn't replace me yet, but I'm full-time at Greenwich.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That's a lot closer to my house. I was driving almost an hour to Hereford.
That's
Oh, wow.
old.
And every time they had a meeting at night, it seemed to rain. It was just, but they were nice people down there though. They really are. They don't have much going on right now though.
I was wondering how many calls you got for warehouses.
Couple. No, actually,
Because they had a.
Two
a
big
young girl
transactions
right out of
last
college
week.
That was helping out in the office.
the biggest call we've been getting lately is solar farms. I think with this one that started,
Okay.
everybody's just looked at Richmond and said, oh, they allow them. So it's just, whether it fits or not, people are calling the office and saying, hey, can you?
What can you expect? I get three letters in 2 weeks' time from 3 different companies who
Yeah.
want my farm.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's just.
They have their own mailman. Just keeps in phone calls.
There was one guy that kept calling from different numbers, but he kept asking us different parts of the ordinance.
Yeah.
And then, but he kept leaving the same name. So after I talked to him once, he left a couple messages, and the second time he called, I had realized he was calling and asking people some of the same question. We kind of said at some point, you gotta start doing your own research. I mean, when he had me on the phone, he asked a lot of the questions, but.
I'm sure for a fee, you would answer as many questions as you
Well, we have no problem helping now and answering, yeah, but once it starts adding up.
Okay, it's 7:00, so we're gonna call the Richmond Township Planning Commission meeting to order. Or I guess it's a meeting or a reunion, one of the two. At this time, Michelle or Scott, do you want to run the meeting?
I would gladly pass it to Michelle.
Okay, we will conduct the reorganization of the planning commission for 2023. I will consider nominations for chairman at this time. Anybody want to nominate anyone?
I'll nominate Ken Schlegel.
Dan, do you accept?
What?
Do you accept the nomination?
Sure.
Is there a second?
Nobody else
Emily?
wants it.
Okay. Any other nominations? At this time, we'll close the nominations. All those in favor of Ken Slagle being chairman of the Richmond Township Planning Commission, please say aye. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to continue, or would you like to handle the?
I'll take over. This time we'll accept nominations for vice chairman.
I'll nominate Sam Burkholder.
Sam has been nominated. Any others? Others are closed, one of the two. I move to close the nominations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Sam, will you accept the position?
I
You
guess.
got it. Okay. Okay, we'll accept nominations for the secretary. Guess probably looking for Jen to be our secretary, if that's what you want.
Yes, that's what.
You can give other names too, but I mean,
I'm just pinch hitting tonight.
I nominate Jen. Do I have another name yet?
yeah, it's Galump or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, we have Jen. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the nominations?
I'll make that.
Matt moves. Ben seconds. Is there any discussion or question? Okay, there's your ballot. At this time, we'll go on with the minutes of, make sure I get the right ones here. June 17th. Excuse me, June 13th. June 13th. Anybody have any questions, or if not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Is it June 27th?
There's I did the same thing. There's another one
Oh, there is the.
in the pack there.
Yeah, it's June 27th and June 13th. One, we met with the supervisors. So right now, we're looking at June 13th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Sam has moved to do the June 13th minutes. Do I have a second? Ben seconds. Is there any discussion or question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Now we'll go to the minutes for June 27th.
I'll make the motion to approve the meeting, or the minutes from the June 27th.
Okay, Nick has made a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion or question? All in favor, do the voting sign. I'll say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, we're ready to go to the agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience besides the people on the program? Chairs aren't quite full, so. Okay, old business, we have none, new business sheets.
You guys like me to set up in the front there and show you plans? Are you all familiar with the plans, or do I need to kind of run through it?
It's been a while since they've
Yeah.
seen them.
Yeah.
It was 2 years since you guys were here.
I think that might have been somebody else.
Well, it could have been somebody else, but it was the same sheets.
Oh, was it? No, okay.
Yeah, I think it was the same stuff.
Yeah, well, generally the same. So,
I thought you stopped because of the 4-lane highway coming through, but this section is already done, so.
right. So, just kind of run through everything real quick. So the sheet's located at the intersection of Route 222 and 662 right down the road here. I'm sorry. I'm Tom Serpico. I'm from Pannoni Associates. I'm here on behalf of Sheets to discuss this project. So the product is that the sheet's down at the intersection of Route 222 and 662. They'd like to tear it down and they'd like to replace it with A sheets that's kind of newer, more modern, and that's what they're anticipating. So the plan that we have before you right now is showing what the anticipated new sheets is going to look like. So currently there is a sheets kind of sitting right on this top half of the building. They're going to demolish that. They're going to demolish the 2 sets of gas pumps that they have, put 1 set of gas pumps in the front, and have an elongated building kind of going this way with associated parking and some other aspects of the land development. So it's located in the commercial 2 district, which is permitted use by right, sitting there currently. So the roadway access, it's still going to propose having 2 accesses, one off of Route 222 and one off of 662. There's no proposed changes to either one of those driveways currently, and there's no anticipated increase in traffic or significant increase in traffic to either one of those driveways. So at this time, the traffic study that was done by TPD shows that there would be no improvements needed to either one of the driveways. Water and sewer on site. On site, there's a existing water well that serves the existing Sheets building currently, and they're going to plan on using that as well with some revised piping from that well. And then also there's an existing sanitary sewer vault, I guess, that they use for their sanitary services that they pump out on a regular basis. From a stormwater management perspective, everything would be captured, and there's 2 existing stormwater management facilities on site. One, there's a basin up here in this general area that's currently being used, which would be modifying to accommodate the increase in impervious coverage. And then there's an existing basin right down here, which we're going to basically be relocating further to the south and manage the stormwater that way. So I believe we had a conversation about infiltration capacities. Excuse me. So there was a question as to whether or not infiltration would be allowed on the site. The 2 existing basins that are currently being utilized have infiltration capacity. So we're going to basically propose new infiltration basins or like infiltration basins in roughly the same areas. So that's how the stormwater management facilities will be taken care of. So currently, we've submitted to the township, we've submitted to Berks County Planning, submitted to Berks County Conservation District for our NPDS permit. And so tonight we're here to seek preliminary approval from the township for this plan.
Okay, if I'm understanding, 662 is right on this side towards you, and then 222 is on the top.
Yep.
When you were in the first time, I mean, you weren't here, somebody was there, they were talking about a road around the sheets from the back, because that's not there anymore, right there.
A road around the sheets from the back, as in,
The problem we have with this sheets is tractor trailers. I guess they're not supposed to come there, but everything's a mess when they're there.
got it.
And the other day when I was in there with 2 tractor trailers and 2 modular homes and didn't fit in between the pumps. And nobody knew which way to go. I mean, I was thinking they were gonna put a place with tractor trailers coming in above the exit. I think that's 222, be on this side. And somehow, there was a road around the sheets they had planned. I guess you didn't change this drastically, did you? You don't know, I guess.
As far as I'm concerned, this was always the layout that I've seen personally. If that was something that was contemplated 2 years ago, I think they must have pivoted away from that for whatever reasons.
I mean, it's just a mess, so we just live with it, I guess, but it's,
Well,
now's
yes.
the time we should do something about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, other than, signs posted or things like that to try to restrict tractor trailer usage, but, I don't necessarily know if that's feasible. We're going to show that tractor trailer can maneuver through the site and, maneuver its way through, because, I mean, there is a gas pumping tank that does come to fill this site up through the gas tanks, so that would have to be able to maneuver through it, so that's the thought.
I mean, your gas truck,
The Sheets gas truck, yeah.
yeah, he comes in and goes to the
They come and
corner,
they fill
yeah,
up the
he goes
tanks.
to that corner.
Right, so that a tractor trailer
And
should be able to
usually
maneuver through the
The
site.
employees park in that corner, so they work things out.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the one time that I was on, well, a few times that I've been on site, I have seen a large tractor trailer or something up on this way, which yes, I don't believe that they should be there, but I'm not sure exactly how we can restrict them from pulling in there, that's something I'll have to
I
figure out.
don't think he's want to put a sign up saying tractor trailer is not allowed.
Right. So,
If there's a large truck where you point it, I noticed there's one parked there, you have very poor visibility to try and pull out there. It blocks the road
right.
and then you can't see cars coming. So that is, I mean, you have to have tractor trailers there to service the place, but maybe somehow keep them from blocking visibility to pull out.
The parking along 222.
Or something like that. You see that all the time. You have to shoot out and hope there's no cars coming because you can't see.
I think what Ken was bringing up was that when we had this at the, I think it was a sketch plan at that time, the maneuverability of that truck through the area was something that was requested and discussed at this level here. And that's, again, it was something repeated in the letter there that whether it's posted or not, it occurs. And that was part of what.
Right.
It was a concern.
Make sure we look at it.
Yep, understood. So we'll run a truck train moving through the site to prove that there's maneuverability for a tractor trailer if and when they do come to the site. So we'll demonstrate that and include that in the plan set, just to show that, it can be done and it can be done safely.
Has it been done at this point? I mean,
I believe it has. I just don't know if it's included in the plan set. So I believe that, if the tractor trailer is coming up here and they can maneuver through the site and basically leave through the site. And then for a tractor trailer to make this U-turn to come in through this driveway, I don't necessarily think that can be done. If you're coming on 222 this way and a tractor trailer, I don't. What's that?
I think that's where a lot of them come
Oh, do
in.
they really?
Only because 222 is the heaviest volume, and that's
Right.
for the trucks. They're going east-west.
Understood.
Well, it's north-south, technically by the road, but they're going that direction in there.
So we'll take a look at that. With the revised pump location, I think we'll have to take a look at that and make sure that that's something that.
I mean, the last time I said, I felt kind of bad because tractor trailers had nowhere to go in a lot of places. Now there is one
The runners.
5 miles up to 6 miles up the road, and there's one now over at Leesport about 6-7 miles. But
Right.
I mean, yeah, I can see sometimes they want to stop to get something,
Right.
There's no tractor trailer parking, however, right?
Not proposed. No,
Yeah,
not
not
legal.
legal.
Yeah,
Not
that's the
legal.
other problem is that it's posted for them not to park on 222. Right. Some try to roll the dice on giving a number.
So yeah, unfortunately, and that is a concern. That's something that we'll take a look at and see how we can address that as best we can. We'll see what we can come up with and see if that's something that we can mitigate.
If you guys have any questions, there's a couple kind of comments and questions that are similar to it, the drive-through. What's the idea with the drive-through on how to limit that, or what's going to fit through that drive-through lane?
Sure. So at the drive-through, there is going to be essentially where they order here. There's going to be a clearance bar, or it'll be a clearance bar right here actually, that basically says there's a clearance of max height of 11 feet. So typical cars and SUVs and things could utilize the drive-through, but any sort of larger vehicle wouldn't meet the clearance requirement. So they would be basically stopped getting to that point. And then, on the other side here, there will be some overhangs here that have that 11-foot clearance that, port to share type deal where the service windows would be.
Is there any concern that once they hit that bar, then they have to back up to get out of there and not pass through lane or any sort to get past?
From what I understand, that most usage of their drive-through facilities is just quick cars or online pickups. It's not really something that they drive traffic towards, or it's not something that's typically used. Most people that are using this Sheets in particular, they're going to park, get out, go in the Sheets, and go to the bathroom, buy their food, whatever they're going to get. The drive-through is just an extra accommodation for their patrons. It's not something that they don't get a lot of it, is really what I'm getting at. So to answer your question though, with the 11-foot clearance, I don't believe that they're going to have much problems with that. I think most people that would be going through the drive-through would know if their car or vehicle would fit under the 11-foot clearance, and if there was a problem there. There isn't a whole heck of a lot of traffic on this intersection, and they potentially would have adequate room to back up and get out of there.
So have you done the queuing data yet?
So yeah, in the submission package, there was a transportation assessment, and they did have some drive-through assessment in there. So they monitored other drive-throughs of sheets that they've done in the general area, and what they found is that I think during the peak hour lunch, there was only like 6 or 7 cars that used it, and then the average queuing time was within 0 to 10 minutes at times, and some of those were automatic pickups. So they ordered online and they literally just got in, got their stuff and left. So there wasn't any queuing for that. So they said I think the average queuing was somewhere around 3 minutes, and the amount of volume that they get is so minimal that they don't believe there'll be any queuing issues, with that. So.
There was, and the request I had was to get a little bit more information on the queuing. I mean, it did, per the information submitted, it was kind of a historical, the typical hours and how many cars they're seeing at that time for queuing. And it was, at lunch, they showed it being the biggest queue of about 10 and a half cars, I think it was, for that hour, which would really give you a car in 6 minutes or so. So it really wasn't a bad queue, but they only counted one store in York, and it might be that that's the best representation, but it was just at the lunchtime, and we're just asking for like the real data of something nearby with the AM, PM, and maybe the Saturday is not a concern, but it's kind of was a question there. I mean, typically, if they weren't providing a full study, and I don't think you really need a full study for what they're doing, since you already can see most of how the traffic is reacting, what's going on there. But that's probably the biggest, I'd say the 2 concerns were the tractor trailer getting through, trying to see that, and then the other is just from the box to where the cars could possibly stack up. It's only about 4 cars long.
Right.
And that was the one thing, just to make sure we're seeing enough data that it shows, yes, this will be sufficient, but just wanted to see a little bit more there for what the typical peak hours are.
And I'll reach out to Sheets to see if they have any more similar uses for this. And over time, this is kind of their new model, so I think that they might have more that they've installed, that they might have more data on, so that I can provide that. Basically, show that it would be something similar to what they provided across all their stores. So I'll reach out to them.
To the point of the lane to try to get by, I mean, you see that in a lot of the bigger fast food type places. It isn't a requirement in the ordinance, so it's not. It was just kind of asking you questions just to see and get some feedback on it. But,
And then also, to that point, the bypass. If someone were to be here and there was, an issue, this is, 14 feet wide. And then once they get back here, they can get out of this queuing lane. So if there's a backup, say in the window and say something was down, as soon as they get past the dumpster, they can go out of the lane and, exit as needed. So one of the questions that was brought up was this dashed line here. And that's just going to be pavement dashing, so that there's going to be a physical barrier there. So if somebody needed to get out of the line, they could get out of the line once they get past the dumpsters right back here.
So you're tearing it completely down?
Yep.
Okay, I thought that's the way I understood it, right?
Yeah. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with it, but I guess that's their older model store. It's been there for quite some time. It's 20
They
years.
remodeled it one time.
Yeah. So I think these Sheets across the board is trying to go towards a different kind of internal, like inside the store business model. So it's a little more open inside. Like I know that Sheets is a little, cramped. I think some of the new products that they have, they just want more space for, I think they do want more beer and wine sales. So that, the new chillers in the back and things like that. So this new store is more for their new, brand, if you will, new branding.
Seating inside and outside?
I believe that there is a couple of picnic tables on the front here, this side, and there's probably I'm not sure about the architecture, but there might be a couple tables and chairs inside where people can eat their made-to-order stuff. So I think
That's what they added the last time they did it,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago.
so I think if the current one has it, I think with this new one, it still has similar.
Are you reducing the amount of pumps then?
No. So there's still gonna be 6 pumps, and I did believe currently, I can actually show it on this one right here. This is what's there currently for reference. So there's 3 pumps here and 3 pumps here. So,
I thought when I looked at it, it seemed like less, and then it took me a minute to figure it out. Like,
And are they still running diesel?
I believe so, yeah. I believe so.
Because that draws trucks and trailers too.
Any plans for electric charging stations? And the reason is, how's that going to affect the parking? Because that's what I'm seeing a lot of the convenience stores go to.
Not at this time. So there's no plans that I've had discussions with Sheets at this time, because their model is that they come, go, and leave, not necessarily stay in charge. So we don't have any proposed charging stations right now, and if that were to change, we would discuss that with the plan commission.
Does Sheets have that in any other, does Sheets use charging stations in any other areas?
Not that I'm aware of. Other sheets that I've done, I don't believe that they put these in. If they did, they might have been after the fact. Might have been something.
This is no reason to tear it down in 5 years. Charging stations.
Well, I guess are you going to, if that would occur, do you have sufficient parking for that to occur?
That's a good question.
I don't remember what the numbers are right offhand.
Yeah,
What they proposed was meeting, but I don't remember where the.
and that would be something that we'd have to look into if they were to propose that, to see what the actual parking would be. And so what I guess you're asking is if those spaces are tied up, and then the parking requirement on top of that would be, so if they had 2 spaces tied up, do you still need the parking requirement? So that's something that we'd have to discuss to make sure that they could accommodate that. But at right now, no proposed electric stations, so all of the parking would be open to be used. So in addition to that, I don't think they have electric planned or ran to any of those areas, so they'd have to tear all that up to run electrical lines to those, which,
I just see their competitors are starting to do that.
yeah, it's like Wawa's and Tesla charging stations and things like that, but I don't think that's in the forecast for Sheets right now, or at least this one.
Another comment that I'm looking at now, it could have been a zoning comment, because it was, yeah, I don't know where it appeared exactly in the letter, but it should have been a zoning comment, was the air pumping station. If you're familiar with it, it's right up against 222 there.
It's right up here, actually.
Which I,
Yeah, it's right here. The existing air machine is right up here, so
yeah,
here's where the pumps are, it's right up here.
which is right in the. I'm not sure if that was something they added later or what, but that's technically a structure in the front yard.
To which I believe they're planning on relocating that.
Are they?
Yeah, so after the comment, I discussed that with them, and I believe they're looking at areas else on site that we could relocate that to.
Okay.
Where there would be, so it's out of the front yard setback, and then that would also reduce any sort of cars or anything like there for site distance or
Yeah, the
sight
concern
lines.
was parking, and I think to that point, and I think it would speak to what you guys were bringing up, and maybe along the front area there, adding some kind of hatching or line striping that just says no parking, because I think you have sight distance issues and the tractor trailers and that come in and
Here's like
they just park there.
food and beer service. Where are they gonna park? Because that's what's like today. You always see the guy delivering the beer and the food with his lift gate down.
I think Ben had a valid point, is the way that's laid out, tractor trailer to unload the fuel is gonna be parked. It's gonna be parked in the sight
I
distance
think
of
you
the
go see
roadway.
it today. If something's there, it's terrible line of sight.
Right. So the
Remember that
underground,
tank?
the underground storage tanks are here currently. They're going to be relocated to here. So if and when they're servicing that, the truck will be more located here, not necessarily here. So they'll be, servicing it kind of right near these pumps, or potentially, right here. So they'll be much further away from this driveway. So there shouldn't be some sort of sight distance because we're relocating. So I think that will help alleviate some of that problem.
How often do they refuel?
That I'm not sure. I'm sure it's every few days, I imagine. So maybe twice a week. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the actual answers.
I just in response to the inquiries, how often is it truck?
We really can't do much to them, can we? Additional approval we can't give.
I mean, that's your choice on that, but I think there's a couple things that we've
Yeah, wait.
been asking for on the truck tracking in there. I really liked it. I just, on my end, as far as the queuing goes, with it as close as it is to that entrance, I think you get some information and it does show that it's good, but I'd like to see that we get more than enough to show that all those peak hours show that it does not stack.
That's why we're asking you to come back with questions we've been asking with some more better information.
Sure. So then I can coordinate. Do you basically give you pieces, or would you like it all in one? Yeah, so we'll have to coordinate and figure out how the best way to disseminate the information to the planning commission. Because if we have one aspect of things handled,
Okay.
I don't necessarily feel like come back to do one aspect and then have to come back for another meeting. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but yeah, we'll work on getting all those answers to the questions that you guys had, and we'll
Yeah, thank you.
bundle up a good package to try to get all the information to you guys so you guys are satisfied.
What about, and did you have a chance to talk to them about, I know the fueling is gonna have to be wherever the tanks are most appropriately, but the loading zone that the ordinance requires.
Yeah, I have not had an opportunity to talk about the loading zone in particular. I think that's going to have to be a discussion to show that loading zone, and specifically where people unloading things would have to go inside the building. So we'll have to.
I can't picture, I mean, placed on the old one over there, if they put an additional parking lot in the back, which would be towards Fleetwood off of 662. It'd be
Yes.
nice, I mean, there's a door there so people can get in, but it'd be nice if the loading zone or unloading zone for suppliers would work great if they could pull in that area and stay out of the traffic or the flow of traffic.
Right. So you're talking about this area back here.
Yeah, but they unload, they just pull in the front.
So
I mean, they wheel them in on, carts.
right.
I don't know if there's room on the new one or not to do it with space in the back and stay out of the flow of traffic. I'm not sure. I don't think anything happened that I know of.
Right. So most likely the loading will be back here. So most likely they'll probably be somewhere around in this general vicinity. I'll take a look at it some sort of loading space. Where obviously, we put things on plans, but they'll go where they go, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it's one thing that we have to look at. And,
I mean, the trucks just pull in and sit right across the corner between two rows of pumps and
Yeah, that tends to be, the loading zone is one of those that, unfortunately, the overall design, sometimes it gets added in there and it works. Sometimes if it comes a little later, it's a little tough to figure out where to put it.
Yeah.
okay. Any
Really
questions?
I did see there's one waiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the comments we had were really kind of speaking to what the zoning comments were really. As far as subdivision and land development. And it wasn't a salvo waiver, it was gonna be a stormwater. And it was the offset of, the infiltration facilities compared to where the well is. They're requesting that. Really, the one thing I would say is, as he was speaking to the ponds and how they already infiltrate, and that's part of the existing design, that had already kind of been through the mill a little bit here, but and it was allowed to happen. The stormwater ponds are really not too far, if not a little bit more of an offset from them on this design, I believe.
right. Well, so if we go back to the existing, I can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So currently, we're talking about the stormwater management in the back here. So right now, there's an existing pond right here, right off the back of the existing drive, and the well is located right here. So the infiltration bed is about 80 feet from that well, give or take. And because the new building is going to be pushing this down, the drive aisle for the drive-through is going to be pushed down. So we basically had to move this basin down further. And then what we propose to do is to separate the infiltration beds as far as we can away from this well. So there'll be one basically here and then connected through an equilibrium pipe here and have another section over here. so that we could basically keep the infiltration bed as far away from the well as we could. So we're asking for a waiver for, rather than having it be 100 feet away, to have it be 50 feet away. So there's an existing nonconformity of this infiltration bed within that 100 feet, and doesn't seem to have any problems on the site. So we were requesting that we have a waiver from that requirement.
If the commission so desires, and if you consider it tonight or next month, I would call it a modification, because we can't really waive stormwater requirements.
Modification.
Yeah, so we'll call it a modification.
Understood.
Do you have an idea what kind of formation and rock formation is underneath? You know, is it something that's going to draw water, or is it tight?
I don't have that specific information at the type.
That
of
makes a
rock.
difference in how much your water goes down and filtrates, or how much it actually could filter back to the well.
True, but it'll be similar to what's currently there. So
Mhm.
whatever is acting currently, it'll be very similar because we're only moving it, an area.
And you're not aware that there were any problems.
Correct. From as far as we're aware, there are no problems on site as it exists. So
Am I correct that I think the soil test was not complete yet?
correct.
So there was still some.
There was some discussion as to whether or not in the ordinance there was hotspot regulations and whether or not infiltration would be allowed to be proposed. So after having discussions, we determined that we should go ahead and move forward with infiltration, being that it's similar and like in kind, and that really wouldn't be an issue. So that was in the dead of winter. So rather than testing in frozen ground, we're going to try to get testing done in the next month. So then that will be included in the resubmission that we have infiltration testing, depth of limiting zones and things like that.
Okay,
So it's up to you, or I'll defer to Scott if he wants to wait on the recommendation on the modification, or would recommend the commission consider it now.
I mean, I think if we're gonna be back to
Wait
talk
till it
about
comes
it
back.
again, I think it's probably okay to look at it then. I don't know if there's a concern with that request that they have for this modification.
When was the last time the water was tested? Like, is there no known concern because we're not testing it?
Well, I mean, they're actively using the well for the existing site. So,
Right.
So, I mean, if they're actively using it, I don't believe that there's any issues that they're encountering. So, same use, same concept, same well. I don't think that they've run into any problems.
So it's not gonna
So I don't
alter
know
their
if it's
design, so
fantastic.
if you wanna wait till next month, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts, at least to just kind of bring it up tonight, have a chance to kind of think about it, and then we're gonna be back again.
We are doing infiltration testing on the site. That is going to be part of it.
That was, I think that's the way I read in the stormwater ordinance, or the stormwater report, was that they're
Because,
still working.
I
on
mean,
the
there is
testing.
a lot of issues with sinkholes in this pond here and the one across the street.
It's item number 2 under stormwater.
Okay. Unless that's-
Yeah, it's a good point. There's plenty of them that have shown up, especially in the PennDOT
Yeah,
ponds that they put in lately, so.
they seem to be in there every 2 months fixing it. Trying to fix it.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss? Or-
so we good?
Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
You guys satisfied where we are?
I'm satisfied.
I think,
Lots of notes to
yeah, there is in the letter, I mean, there is a lot of comments to look at for either just changes to the plan or notes, and I think a lot of things that they can work through, but I think we touched on most of them. Just to clear up, so if anybody on your end's asking what my review comments meant, as he said, they are staying out of the PennDOT right away, not at the driveways, they're not changing the driveway layouts. And it looks as though the volumes probably won't increase it to where they hit another threshold, and PennDOT's gonna say, well, you gotta redesign this because of the volume. But there is the grading and whatnot in the PennDOT right of way. And just in general, we just wanna make sure that there isn't we're just asking them to provide more information to say that here's all the reasons of exactly why we don't need the HOP if we don't need it. And they aren't looking for us to come back to them with the grading we're doing in the pond. If that makes sense to you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so, got it.
Okay, so we'll, next month, or whenever, we'll have one waiver. Maybe somebody else will pop up, I think, you know.
I don't think there was anyone that the salary, similar things that would come up as a surprise.
Right, so, okay, we'll
All right.
continue when you come back to see us.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out tonight. And see you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, like you guys heard, the solar panels are being reconsidered for the borough of Fleetwood.
Scott, I finally got an answer from Chris, and I will forward that to you.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was the,
The front yard.
almost repeating type thing there.
Have you been contacted by the solar panel farm that's going in right now for any reason?
Yeah, we are actively out there.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was wondering,
for both the grading, I mean, I'm stopping out for the site improvements and what they're doing as far as, that end of it. But they're starting to get in touch with the codes for any other work they're doing. Most of that right now is just hooking up a trailer or, certain things on that end, but, yes, we've been,
I was wondering
We've been
who
out
was
there.
monitoring, because things are happening people weren't expecting.
yeah.
Even one of the neighbors was treated very poorly, and I've been out to load a load of cattle with him one day, and he says, whatever you do, don't talk to me today, he says. And so what he did is he called up the people who are specialists in there. Channel, he called Channel on down on Lehigh County, and he gave him some pointers. Now I'm ready for them. They changed the poles. They were going to bring the poles right at the line that was going to be leading away from it. They were going to put it right in there, along the road on his fence line, and all of a sudden it's in the middle of the field. And they didn't ask anybody. They just said, "We're doing it." I mean, stuff like that's been happening, and I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it's back to where it belongs now. So.
Okay, yeah. I have, to that point, we've spoken to at least two of the budding neighbors on certain complaints and helping them out where we can, but also making sure they're in touch with the conservation district because some of their concerns are beyond what the township can do. But yeah, they're moving. Unfortunately, they're moving a lot when it's muddy.
Yeah,
There wasn't a lot of-
You can see where the water runs right now.
Yeah, I know, and he was in there the other day bringing the pan through, and I don't know how in the world he could even pull it. He was buried. I mean, he was in solid mud. I didn't think he should have been in there at that point. But
They did say they got it stuck once. I wasn't sure.
I don't know. It's a conversation piece right now. Okay, any other comments to come before the meeting? Nobody from the audience has anything to say? What, does anybody know what we all have here?
So that's the more detailed sheets plan. This is the solar plan.
Yeah. Just for sheets. Just for sheets also.
Yes, that's mostly
Yeah,
our
okay.
sheets, and this is the solar.
So you have bedtime reading.
One of the things, if it's all right, and I'm not gonna talk about the plans really, because we're not here, but with the Fleetwood Borough and solar panels, in the conversations I had with the code department, just to make sure when I was putting the letter together, I was on the same page with them. The big issues they have is there's a variance for putting them in the front of the primary use. So there's really a variance involved with that. The other problem is about half of their panels are in the floodplain. So that's another kind of obstacle they have. But the thought was, just assuming if the variance was something they could get, it could be an offset for costs for a public utility, which really is kind of a good thing in the long run. At least that was the thoughts in our office. And if that's so, I know we're gonna be talking with them. I guess, is it all right to try to get an idea of whether or not that's something the commissions and the boards are in favor of, just so they're aware of, or do we need to just go through the process, review the plans and talk about that?
I think this is the process. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be good for you to have the idea, but I don't think it's something we should consider in reviewing the plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I reviewed it and I think the letter looks a lot more harsh than really if they can, and we kind of talked about it real quick, that if they can elevate their equipment above the flood elevation level that causes them the biggest heartache in that floodplain, they may be able to do that with no problem and say, hey, everything we have electrical is above, and that's really what the ordinance is looking for, anything electrical to stay above. They kind of have to go overhead with the wires instead of burying it like they planned, but maybe that's not a big deal. But then that just leaves them with the variance, and then the rest of it could be overcome. So
But they have to come to zoning hearing board anyway, I believe, and I've sent you the floodplain orders. I think the zoning hearing board here is the floodplain.
They must go to a substation.
they have I think it's just labeled transformer on their property. And then I think they were showing a couple poles along.
That'll suffice the transformer. I thought they had to go to a station somewhere.
That I didn't really review it for the equipment end of it, that end of it. But yeah, on my end, it doesn't have that in the ordinances for those requirements, but there will be the outside agencies looking at it for what they need to, so.
Like that.
Yeah, the codes, they're gonna take a deeper look at that, just in case there are questions, but
Floodplain area, you know, the water.
Yeah, well, he says
So we gotta,
raise it, you know.
Yeah.
if they can, I mean, that's, you see, I don't know, I mean, usually those things, like the one that's in now, it's only a couple feet off the ground, yet they can't go so high. But this is, the difference is it's not a solar farm, it's a solar array, because they're using the power on the property. So it's a little bit different as far as the regulations go.
And I think their feeling is they have the land to put it all. It's just that if we can sort of figure it out.
And that was the other thing, is what else are they gonna do with that land? Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Is it a good spot
Well,
to try to
a
use it?
young farmer was using it for a feed for his cows.
Was it?
So he's gonna lose that farmland, which is the best option. Using the feed for the cows, or is it actually gonna generate cost effective?
So it's good to have wait till
That's
they
the
get
other
here and have that
perspective.
conversation at that time.
So it sounds
Okay.
like it may not be as many months before I see everyone again.
So you have something to think about, okay? I don't have anything on the agenda. Do you guys have anything? Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Sam moves, do I have a second? Ben seconds, is there any discussion or question? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, motion carried. Thanks for coming out.
Okay. I just need Mr. Schlegel's signature on the minutes.
Thank you, Diane, for helping out.
Oh, no problem. And Dunkin' Donuts got their water tested there at 222 and 73. They had the same situation with the well, and the road salt gets into their well. So don't go to that Dunkin' Donuts anytime there's snow. He might run into that
I
same
don't
thing.
know
with
how
sheets.
often the Department of Health.
I was gonna say,
Wire.
if you could hear his answer wasn't a yes, it gets tested.
Yeah, it doesn't. get
I don't,
It would almost have to be considered a public water system.
I'm sure it has to be. Even the Kutztown previous auction has to have theirs tested regular. It has to be.
what's regular? Like, what do you think they have?
Well, every month, every 2
I think it's every month.
Is it really?
Oh, here it is.
I'm sorry.
I was at this wrong place. I'm looking in the back and they have it in here. Oh, well, that's a set condition.
Yeah, because like an EA rider, they just contract with to come out and test it, and the results get submitted. But I would think, being that Home Peter is considered a public water system.
Oh, yes, and I'm almost making a guess that they already have a treatment system in there, because you can hardly get away without having chlorine or something, you know, that's the UV lights and so forth.
Yeah, you're gonna,
Filtration.
I mean, with all the farming.
They built it right on top of the car wash. And there was a system in for the car wash.
Which one? Oh,
Dunkin' Donuts.
I think she's talking to the one,
On 222 and 73 in Glen.
if you keep.
Oh, that one, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were talking
It
about
took
this
me
one.
a second too.
Okay,
Freeze a little.
I had the wrong one.
This is mine. I got lots of papers to take home.